Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be actually sharing with you a very powerful spiritual tool for transformation. So your name, what people call you, is a very powerful tool. This is why in so many cultures, children are not named until they accomplish something. Because then that tells people their nature. Um, in Vedic society, a child is named when they are born based on where the moon is in their astrological chart and the syllable that is associated with the moon. I give this service when I do astrological readings. I'll give people the syllable that their moon is associated with in case they would like to give themselves a spiritual name. I've had one spiritual name which I used briefly for a couple of years based on some time I spent in Kundalini Yoga. I liked that name. That name was Shabad. Shabad is the infinite sound current vibration that, this is how I remember it told to me, that the infinite sound current vibration that vibrates past the ego to the authentic self, something like that. So the idea was that with that name, I would have that effect. I didn't hold on to it because I never really fully adopted into the Kundalini Yoga teacher tradition. I did teach for a few years. But about, I want to say 15 or so years ago, I knew somebody who, there are some people who do have some psychic and intuitive abilities. And this was one of those people whose abilities I have come to respect. And this person I was very close to, I knew for a very long time, so they weren't doing this all the time. But one day she was looking at me and she just said, "Your guides are going to come to talk to you tonight, and they're going to tell you something." And I'm like, okay. And that night, as I dreamt, sure enough, a woman came to me, and my one of my spirit guides, ascended masters, the Dissi or whatever, who comes to me, who has come to me multiple times, has been a blonde woman. And she said, "Hello, Mahadeva." And then she gave another word, a Hebrew name, which I have since forgotten, but I went and I remember looking it up because I'd never heard that word before. And I went and looked it up, and sure enough, it was a Hebrew name that meant brave lion or something like that. I didn't remember that because I personally don't feel a strong connection to anything Hebrew. I took it as in a past life I lived a life as a Hebrew. That was the feeling I got, that she was giving me names that I have had in previous lives. And the one Mahadeva really struck me. Now, I've enjoyed that name, and of course I know what it means. It's one of the names of Shiva. It means great deity. If we were to really break it down, Maha is great. In fact, our word more, is, first you have great, which is Ma, and then you have greater, which is Maher, and then you have greatest, which is Mahest. So we don't use the great word anymore, Mach, but we use the superlative and the comparative. We use more and most. But the source of that is Mach. Now, my ascendant in Vedic astrology sits over the nakshatra called Magha, M-A-G-H-A. And that is, it means great, it means mighty. In English, the word mighty, M-I-G-H-T-Y, is the same word in a different dialect of Indo-European. Machtig, Maichtig. Maha. So Maha, you have it in Greek as mega. We use that mega, it means big. My ascendant, the syllable sitting over my ascendant is the syllable Ma. I have chosen to keep my given name, Michael, because when it's pronounced in normal English, it comes out with a Ma syllable. And that has served me well. So the ascendant is your physical body. So by people calling me Mike or Michael, it has empowered my physical body. And here I am, 56 years old, physically stronger than I've ever been in my life. So I take that to be one of the reasons. So we're going through this planetary cluster right now. As I'm filming this, we are getting to the maximum of the solar eclipse. It's going to be another 20 minutes by the time it reaches its maximum. So I'm recording this now because I'm going to upload this right at the maximum of the eclipse. And so I have been doing my thing all day, just taking things easy, limiting my intake of food and chanting mantra and really meditating and focusing on things that I want to get rid of. This has been an extremely challenging period for me. And I've shared with you that I went through a period, and I'm still going through it, where I have said to my guides and the deity that I work with that, listen, I'm ready to give up my life. Not that I'm looking to die. I just don't feel motivated to go out and create or accomplish. And I feel really strong. There's just this strong pressure on me to just change and let go. And so I've been saying, if you want my life, everything I am, my strengths, my knowledge, my experience, if it is valuable to you, like I'm not begging, please take my life, like people do in religious ceremonies, I give my life to you, please save my daughter, or whatever it is. Not doing that. I don't have an agenda one way or another. I'm just done. And so I've been saying, if my life and the strengths and the values and the experience that I have, if this is valuable to you, I'll give it to you if you want to use it. Because I'm feeling such a strong, crushing weight of Saturn on top of me that's making me feel like I just can't. I can't really force my agenda onto my life anymore. So I'm ready to just hand it over if somebody else wants it. I'm also feeling and going through, especially this Christmas season, this has been very challenging for me on a personal level. Quite possibly the most isolated I've ever been in my life. And I ended up here in this new home. I had a place further up the coast, and some things that I shared about with you before made me believe that I had a destiny down here that was going to change my life. That sadly has not manifested in the way that I had wanted. And so here I am now, stuck in a house, in an area that I'm not familiar with. I don't know anybody. Not too pleased with it. Not feeling comfortable. I don't feel like I belong here. Things like, I've been trying to get a high-speed internet for 2 months, and there has just been one setback after another. People dropping the ball, getting things wrong, things getting lost, people not talking to each other. It's just horrific. Just serious, just nothing but, I'm just forced to be in this empty house with no furniture all by myself, which wasn't why I came down here. And so with this pressure, you know, we can either let the pressure destroy us, or we can surrender to it. And so since this has been the theme ever since 6 months ago when I left California, I am going to now ritually, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just telling you from a spiritual perspective. I'm going to take who I have been up till this point. I'm going to bring all the things that I know I'm supposed to be, which is why I'm wearing my costume. The work that I've done, which is really the only thing I have right now, is my surfing, my spiritual practice, and this business. And I have nothing else. So I'm going to keep those things. I'm going to keep all the things that have brought me power. And I am really going through a personal just death in terms of childhood stuff, family stuff, ideas about relationships, you know, looking at the last third of my life. Even though I'm physically strong and in great health, I walk down the street and people know that I'm a middle-aged man. They don't see me as a young man anymore. And so I have to acknowledge that I might be a healthy old guy, but the last third of my life is coming towards me, and what do I want to do with that? What legacy do I want to leave? And so I'm giving up the idea of accomplishing anything in favor of what can I leave this world. So I'm probably going to be here for another 30 or 40 years, I would imagine, but now I'm ready for that shift. I'm in a astrological period where my nodes, the north and south nodes of the moon, which represent the karma that brought you into this world, they've lined up in the same position that they were in when I was born. So when this happens every 18 years, everybody goes through a death and a transformation. And this is probably my second to last one. And this is going to define perhaps the next phase of my life, which may be the most prolific phase of my life. We'll see. In honor of that, I am going to change my name officially. Maybe I'll do it legally, I don't think so, but officially I'm going to change my name. Certainly for the purposes of my work in this channel. And so I'm going to adopt the spiritual name that was not only given to me in a vision and a dream. I believe somebody else told me that was my name, some yogi or some whatever. I didn't pay attention to it at the time. But I'm going to listen to that message I got from that ascended master mistress who works with me. And I'm going to use that as, in this very powerful period of the eclipse, with all of these planets smashed in together. I think we've got Mercury, we've got Jupiter, we've got Saturn, we have Ketu, we have Sun and Venus, all smashed together in the sign of Sagittarius, with Ketu being responsible for the eclipse of the Sun. Ketu is in a nakshatra that has to do with beginnings, new beginnings, creating something. So I'm going to let go. I'm allowing myself to feel all the pain of all of the things I haven't accomplished, the things I'd wanted, desires that I have that have been nagging me, that have not been fulfilled, ideas about myself and relationships. And I'm going to hold on to, as I said, what I know to be true, which is my spiritual practice, my work, my surfing, and I'm going to let that die with Mike Denny. I'm going to let Michael Denny die. And at least from a spiritual perspective, as a teacher from here on out, I'm going to I'm going to answer to the name Mahadeva. That is a big name in some spiritual circles. That's a name you can't give yourself, because that's the name of Shiva and like the highest god, the king of the gods. I find that to be rather uneducated position, because there's a mantra called Shivoham, which means I am Shiva. And so Shiva is a deity who presents himself as a symbol to which we can aspire. So by taking on that name, I am allowing that to come through my teaching, and I'm allowing that shift to come through my teaching, and I'm allowing the energy of that name now to be applied to my whole life. So the vibration of that name and what it brings to my life. So this is the declaration to the universe of what I'm doing. So that's why I don't have any of the links up there selling anything. This is not one of those videos. This is a spiritual, symbolic gesture that I'm literally sending out into infinity right as the maximum of the eclipse is coming, which is coming in 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. For those of you who wish to, I welcome you to refer to me as Mahadeva. And I hereby officially request from the universe that the vibration of that name and of the deity to whom it belongs, I surrender and open myself up to allow that power to descend upon me and to be used through me as he sees fit. So that's it. All right. Say goodbye to Michael Denny. Say hello to your new teacher, Mahadeva.